I messed up. I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I know it's disappointing to hear, but I think it's time to admit that I'm not perfect. And it only felt right to come out here and say it myself. So, I just need to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't like Zenless Zone Zero. I'm sorry I didn't like the latest Fortnite season. And I'm sorry I didn't like multiverses. I see the comments. This guy hates everything. This guy's a bad critic. Bro's just yapping. Put the fries in the bag. And you're right. I'm a hater-ass bitch with hater-ass opinions. Live service titles bring out the worst in me, and that's a part of myself I need to work on for you. So today, let's talk about something I like. Something I love. Let's talk about SteamWorld Heist! Sorry for the clickbait, there's no way anyone would click on this video otherwise. SteamWorld Heist puts you in the shoes of Captain Piper Faraday, the leader of a merry band of space pirate cowboys tasked with clearing out her space turf from the dangerous scrappers, all through the strategic gameplay of a turn-based strategy RPG, a genre that I know causes eye rolls in a lot of my core audience. But even if you're not an RPG guy, SteamWorld Heist keeps things easy to understand and accessible. The entire thing takes place in only 2 dimensions, making it really easy to tell when enemies can and can't hit you. Weapon types and items are straightforward and will be familiar to most gamers, and all of the aiming is done manually, which sounds small, but an application gives the moment-to-moment gameplay a level of involvement that's not typically found in games like this. And with stuff like bullets bouncing off walls, or piercing through enemies, or some weapons having arcing projectiles, there is a whole level of experimentation here ripe for the picking. I would say about 90% of my 35 hours within the game was spent trying to line up the perfect shot. If you're anal enough to really micromanage this stuff, you can pull off some pretty incredible feats. It's like a whole new game within the game. I think SteamWorld Heist's greatest strength is how good it is at making you feel like a genius. I played this game on the hardest difficulty because I'm stubborn, and even with how obtuse the enemy counts can get, the tools available to the player made everything still feel attainable. Experience given is generous enough to keep all of our playable cast up to par with one another, with even late entries to the team catching up to the others just fine, and for the most part, experience earned from combat doesn't provide raw stat boosts upon level up, instead favoring unique skills and abilities for each of the 10 party members. And that's another thing that makes this game feel so good. Classes don't dictate what your party members are good at as much as it is just what weapons they can and can't equip. And that is where any limitations start and stop. Every single person brought onto the ship has their own unique gimmicks, and every single accessory can be equipped to any character, allowing you to truly build anyone to match your perfect playstyle. My favorite ended up being Sally Bolt. If she defeats an enemy with her attack, she gets to attack again, and eventually you can make these stack. And this gives Sally probably the single highest kill count of any of my units. Outside of raw gameplay, SteamWorld Heist is probably one of the best paced video games I have ever played. Missions are chunked out into individual objectives, each coming with a rating out of 3 stars, and most of them are done away with quick enough to leave you wanting more. RPGs are typically very long with deeply involved stories, so it's remarkably refreshing to play one where everything is constantly moving forward and the story is, well, I won't call it bad, but it's definitely not the focus, more so serving as a means to get our cast from place to place. There are tidbits of wider lore about the SteamWorld universe, and our characters all have backstory to learn about and banter between battles, but all in all, it's a pretty light narrative. And that's no complaint. I love this kind of vibes-based storytelling. It might be disappointing to hear that an RPG is light on story, but there's nothing wrong with a video game putting the game part first, and SteamWorld Heist does that masterfully. By keeping everything separated and uninvolved, developer Image and Form also functionally removes any barriers to entry. It's a remarkably playable experience. I got so helplessly addicted that I basically didn't put the game down until I hit the credits. And I almost hate to admit that to myself because I have been sitting on this game for a long time. SteamWorld Heist is a game that's haunted me. Originally launching in 2015, a sort of sequel to a game I loved, I purchased the game at launch in my freshman year of high school, and it sat unplayed on my Wii U for 9 years, which might be a record for the longest a game has been in my backlog. Now I could try and think up a reason as to why I never got around to it, but the honest truth is, I'm just bad at playing video games. It's why I gravitate so heavily towards live service titles. They're the games that I don't have to break into, the games that I can just pick up and play whenever. And while these titles definitely have their strengths, it's also really easy to sour on them when they don't meet expectations. And when that happens, sometimes you just need a good-ass game to remind you of what the industry can be like, regardless of how old it is. SteamWorld Heist is a remarkably paced RPG with a focus on keeping things light and accessible. But the true magic of the game is found in the fact that they don't sacrifice any of that typical RPG depth or intrigue in pursuit of that ease of access. Yeah, things are simple on paper, but that doesn't mean they're not also complex in execution. The game plays nice, looks nice, you can shoot off enemy hats and wear them for yourself, and all of the music is done by steam-powered Giraffe. And they're here, performing their classic songs in the game. I find this so cool. If you don't know who these guys are, I'll spare you the pain and I won't info dump about my favorite robot band in my favorite robot game series. After all, I'm third-rate Nakey Jakey, not third-rate Anthony Fantano. I have a reputation to uphold. But know that they're here, they sound good. My favorite album is 1896. My favorite tracks on that album are Eat Your Heart and Laying Down in Your Arms. I know that's not a real track, I don't care. I also have a soft spot for some of the older, weirder tracks like Juju Magic and I'm Not Alone. And if I had a JoJo stand, I would name it Clockwork Vaudeville. And if you understood any of that, congratulations, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that you were on Tumblr too much as a kid. I'm happy to have finally gotten this game out of my backlog, and I'm even more happy to report back to my wonderful audience and tell them that I actually liked something. It's nice, right? I can feel the good vibes flooding the room right now. Doesn't it feel good? Isn't this nice? Well, you better enjoy it while it lasts, because I can't wait to get rid of them when I finally release my video on the 1,000-Year Door. See ya!